Mitt Romney is going to talk a little bit about gay marriage here. This gets a little bit uncomfortable.
Think about the issue of same-sex marriage in America. 10 years ago, almost to the month, it was Massachusetts, when you were governor, that really set same-sex marriage rights into motion. And you wrote about it at the time rather pointedly, where you said, after that decision by the court, the definition of marriage is not a matter of semantics. It will have lasting impact on society. 10 years later, as you've seen same-sex marriage now in 17 states in the District of Columbia, has it had a negative impact on society in your judgment?
Well, I think marriage is a relationship between a man and a woman. And I think the ideal setting for raising a child is in a setting where there's a father and a mother. Now, there are many other different settings that children are raised in, and people have the right to live their life as they want to. I think marriage should be defined in the way that has been defined for several thousand years. And if gay couples want to live together, why, that's fine as well. That's their right.
But let me just follow up. Do you think it's actually had a negative impact on society that you have so many states now recognizing it?
Oh, I think it's going to take a long, long time to determine whether having gay marriage will make it less likely for kids to be raised in settings where there's a mom and a dad. That's not going to happen overnight. It's something which happens over generations, in fact. And again, I think the ideal setting is where there's a mom and a dad that can invest their time and their resources in supporting the development of a child.
As you look at the progression of this issue, as a Republican, do you think Republicans have lost the fight politically over this?
I don't know that you have to worry about who wins and who loses a particular fight. I think you stand for various principles. You communicate those to the American people, and they either support those or not. Sometimes, if something is lost, you move on to the next issue. You wish you'd have won that one, but you move on. I think in this case, it continues to be an issue that people find relevant and important, and it's something which is being considered in various states across the country. I do believe, by the way, that it's best decided by the people rather than by the courts. I think when the courts step in and make a decision of this nature, they're removing from the people something which they have the right to decide.
No. First of all, this is not a democratic issue. This is a constitutional issue because people's rights are involved. That's what the 14th Amendment is for. You're supposed to give equal protection under the law to everybody. And this is an issue where gay people aren't being protected equally under the law. So it is explicitly and specifically a court issue. He's just wrong about that. And that's the whole point of a constitution in the first place, that you're not supposed to put people's rights up to a democratic vote. In other areas that aren't, constitutional issues, then yes, you're supposed to have democracy. But this is one of those areas where it's not for democracy. It's for the Constitution. It's for rights. It's for the courts, not for the legislature. So second of all, he's not sure how this is going to affect kids, and it needs more study. All right, well, let me put his fears to rest. Quote, "The Australian study of child health in same-sex families, the world's largest study on this issue, found these young people are not only thriving, but also have higher rates of family cohesion than other families." So when they looked into this, when researchers looked into this, the conclusion of the study was that kids of gay parents actually do better than kids of straight parents. And the reason they think is that since there's such a feeling of social pressure from the outside that maybe some heterosexual couples don't, look at them as equal or look at them like they should be doing that there's a strong level of family togetherness because they try to foster that, that homely feeling and that caring feeling. So they fare a lot better. So he's just wrong about that. And also let me add, even if that weren't true, let's say hypothetically, not only, hey, gay kids of gay parents do just as well as kids of straight parents, but let's say hypothetically that, kids of gay parents, they do slightly worse than kids of straight parents. That still wouldn't be a reason to ban gay marriage. I mean, is that how we do marriage now? Do we make people take a test as to how good they'll be as a parent? And if somebody gets a D minus or a C plus, we go, well, we're only going to allow you to have one kid, big guy, because you're not going to do too well as a parent. We can tell by the test. No, that's not how freedom works. Okay, obviously, if there's a crime being committed against the kids, like there's abuse or there's, some extenuating circumstance that's just cut and dry. In that case, yes, the state is supposed to take the kids and they're not supposed to allow, bad things to happen. But if it's just a difference in lifestyle choices between one group and another, the state can't just say, well, we don't like your lifestyle, so you're done. That's ridiculous. That would be fascism, okay? We're not supposed to live in a fascist state. And then finally, the answer that he gave was it was from the 1950s. I mean, in 30 years, come back and watch that clip again, and it'll sound just as ridiculous as somebody railing against the idea of interracial marriage. You know, how back in the 1970s, there were a lot of red states that banned interracial marriage. And you could read the interviews or listen to the interviews of people going, I just don't think it's right. God doesn't like it when you mix with people that aren't the same as you. You don't want to do no hybriding. You don't want to do none of that. I mean, we just did a story on Friday of the Tennessee pastor or Kentucky pastor, or wherever it was, who's against interracial marriage. So what we're dealing with here is a situation where it's so obvious that down the line, people will look at the ones who oppose this like absolute morons, like social idiots, like people who can't break free from their silly cultural chains that have just defined things in arbitrary ways. That's how we're going to look at Mitt Romney. That's how we're going to look at everybody who's against gay marriage. And also, I should note that he said I'm for marriage as defined for several thousand years. I don't know why I gave Mitt Romney a southern accent there. But you heard him say that, right? Well, that's a swing and a miss. That's a fail. Because biblical marriage is polygamy. Throughout the majority of human history, what we had is polygamy. And actually, more specifically, it's something called polygyny, which was one man and multiple women. And his religion also, by the way, Mormonism, polygamy is what they're in favor of. And he's acting like, oh no, I'm always in favor of one man, one woman. Well, then why the fuck are you a Mormon? God, he's just a big mesh of like confused Republican talking points and 1950s nostalgia.